welcome on a Tuesday night to True Believers, one and all. Oh, sorry.
Whoa! And there it goes.
That was just the beginning. That was a sneak peek of what's going to happen. Welcome to Loud and Nerdy on a Tuesday night. My name is JW Colwell. I'm joined as always. Good evening, Ken McKernan. I'm joined as always with my good friends Kyle Defina. How you doing, buddy?
Good, good. How are you tonight?
And Jerry Kamora in the
wife beater down there.
Oh yeah, well, it's actually Hoover Dam tank top. I got it there too. I didn't order it online.
Yeah, I didn't order it online. Like, you're cheating. Like, I went to the Hoover Dam. Really,
it was awesome.
It is amazing.
Welcome on a Tuesday night. Not a lot to do. Not a lot of things going on or happening. Although shows are premiering all over the place, movies are premiering all over the place. Jerry dressed for the occasion. Yes, we are, if nothing, if not slackers. And like, I only wear a t-shirt every week. I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, so tank top is fine. Hi boys. Hi Missy. How are you? Let's start off the night with bad news first. So this didn't happen at all. Like,
are we waiting the week for the spoilers, or are we going?
I haven't seen it. I can't talk about it. I'm not going to talk about. Did you like it? You don't have to give spoilers. Just, was it good?
Now, keep in mind the '94 version was very loosely based on the comic, or on the original source. This was a lot more based on the original source. But there are some points that I would love to talk about that are like.
I'm going to try to see it later this week. A couple things happen. I go to the movies on Thursday afternoons, and sometimes I string together 2, 3, 4 movies on Thursdays. It was Kelly's birthday on there. There's no way I'm going to the movies on my wife's birthday. Good evening, gentlemen.
Well, it's a love story. You could have taken your wife to the Crow. It's a love story.
I can't, and she doesn't view it's not her game. So, I didn't get to see it. I'm going by what's happened. Gross new in Canada, $5 million. Ken McKernan. Yeah, it's fucking bleak. Just so we're clear, box office wise this weekend, Deadpool and Wolverine took number 1 again with $18 million, followed by Alien Romulus with $16 million. That's up to about 72, which is great. Deadpool and Wolverine is climbing the charts, 577 right now. It ends with us also doing pretty, plodding along, 11 million. That is up to 120 million. Blink Twice opened to 7.3. The Forge, which is apparently a religious picture from Sony Pictures, 6.6 million.
Yes.
And then Twister's Coraline at 5.43 over the weekend outgrossed The Crow. So a movie that technically was 812 weeks in theaters, Coraline, celebrating an anniversary, outgrossed The Crow by $400,000 and just so we're clear, on 1,300 less screens.
But Beverly Hills Cop had to be streaming.
That had to be streaming, yeah. So, couple stories to talk about in the top 10 here. One, Deadpool and Wolverine is climbing the MCU charts. Pretty impressive. Another big story coming out of this weekend is It Ends With Us is doing very well, and it is legit at 120 million, one of the most profitable movies of the year. But there's Trouble in Paradise. So its worldwide take is at 242 million right now. And they're looking, by the time it ends its run, they're expecting about a $300 million worldwide take, anywhere from 285 to 300. It's hugely profitable. It only cost $25 million to produce, and is expected to net its main studio, Sony, with $25 million to $30 million, and director star Justin Baldoni's Wayfarer Studios they're going to both get huge chunks of money out of this. But the problem is, um, you know, we're dealing with a Blake Lively situation here, and Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, who made this movie, are feuding right now. They haven't done press together. It's been kind of a nightmare. There is a sequel that's already exists, that is already something, that's out there already. It's called the sequel book is called It Starts With Us. Um,
You know what ends
but
feud?
there's
Money.
fighting. There is flat out fighting on the idea that these two people who have made this first film a success are never going to work together. It started the rumors about hostility between Baldoni and the rest of the cast after he didn't photograph with them on the August 6th New York premiere. Then he didn't introduce the film alongside Blake Lively and the writer Hoover. None of his fellow actors follow Baldoni on Instagram. It's just a really big nightmare. Um, you know, one of the things that came up was that Lively said that Ryan Reynolds wrote a key scene in the final cut of the film, even though he wasn't credited with a screenwriting credit. And that Baldoni basically, thought that she had ad-libbed the scene and didn't realize that Ryan Reynolds had wrote it for her. Also, this has like become a big thing with the Writers Guild of America. So there is so many fights on this movie. Um, it's so much going on with it, but the movie is one of the bigger hits of the summer. Another story that's kind of making the rounds as we go through this and look at things. I will say I saw a dub movie with my Penguin friend. I very much enjoy that. I don't usually dub films. I don't particularly like dub films. I prefer actual movies that have the subtitles. But if you have to see a dub, you have to see a dub. But this is a big thing. A couple things. Blake Lively's reputation has taken a hit, even though she makes movies that tend to do well. There was some uncomfortable interviews with her where she was very like kind of funny and like laughing about the movie and the subject matter, which It Ends With Us is actually about domestic violence, so it rubs some people the wrong way. So she has this going on. She's fighting with the director. She basically like took control on some scenes in the film. Didn't allow him to get close during scenes that were supposed to be close in. All kinds of shit about this movie, and it's one of the biggest hits of the summer. So, yeah, something interesting there. Another thing, as we're looking at the box office totals, that I think is great. Inside Out 2 is finishing up its run. It's at 646 million domestic, right? It grossed 2 million over the weekend, which, by the way, is again 1,200 theaters less than The Crow and almost beat The Crow. It was only 2.6 down to The Crow in its 11th week of release. But one of the interesting things that happened for Inside Out 2 this week, and it's something that doesn't happen a lot, but International Inside Out 2 becomes the first animated film ever to hit $1 billion at the international box office. So it's grossed $646 million here at Borderlands with a Prime Video Friday. It's a putrid film. Lionsgate is having the worst summer I've ever seen a studio have. They had The Crow remake. They had Borderlands. They're just having a disastrous kind of summer happen to them. We were talking about last night. They got Megalopolis.
Though is going to be one of those movies that once it gets released on a streaming platform, it's going to find that niche cult audience that's separate from the '94 Crow movie.
I think that's really tough. And I was talking about this. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks. No matter how many people say, give it a chance, whatever, the love for that original Crow movie is so high. I don't know that it's going to get there. I don't know.
Give it up.
You know what I mean? I'm I'm dubious. And no matter, you liked it, Joe liked it, right? Everybody likes it that sees it. Um, but it's one of those
Like this
things where I
strong
just
word.
so you didn't like it. You didn't even fucking like it.
Tolerated it.
I came home and I watched the '94 version. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my god! Then you did not like this movie.
I didn't hate it,
He
but
needed retribution.
I
But
didn't
you
hate
came
it.
home
But
and watched the '94 version and realized the '94 version's better, right? Is that what happened? Not the source material. I understand that you're going off of
it's
source
the source
material.
material. But I mean, of course, the soundtrack for the '94 one you just fall in love with. If if the new one had a halfway decent of a soundtrack, maybe it could have helped it. Um,
I think the problem is Lee. Everybody's been talking about this movie for 2 weeks, and what I would say to you is, in
no,
rewatching The Crow on Generation Movie File, right? You rewatched the '94 Crow too, right?
yeah,
You know what you see when you watch what I saw when I watched the original '94 Crow? I don't think you can compare the two movies. They're completely apples to origin when it comes to The Crow. That's real hard to explain to people. It's called The Crow, based on a comic book. One's a mega hit cult movie, and one's like the Hindenburg at the box office.
but
So
if it
yes,
wasn't called The Crow and it didn't have that expectation to live up to, I think it could have done a lot better.
it wouldn't have gotten made. No, that's the problem, Kyle. It wouldn't have gotten made without the
Well,
Crow
that's the problem
IP.
in general with Hollywood now. Anything original won't get made unless it has some form of attachment.
Unless it has something going for it. The original movies get made all the time. It's just the problem original movies face, and the three of us have talked about this. Original Everybody goes, I want original movies. I don't want remakes. I don't want reboots.
They lack depth.
But what I'm saying is everybody says that, right? And then what happens when an original movie gets released? Nobody goes. And then when a reboot gets released, everybody's like, "Holy fuck, let's go!" Right? And so you're teaching the It's a twofold thing. The studios are taught that they can only make money with IPs and reboots, and people, even though they say we want original stuff, don't actually want original stuff. They want it like if they're spending their hard-earned dollars on something, they want to think that when they get there, it will live up to expectations. If you're saying this is an apples and oranges thing, that's fine. But
The
the
CGI
problem
in
with that,
'94 is bad. If you rewatch
what?
it now, the CGI when those wounds close up, oh, is that brutal?
It's an aged movie. It's a '94 movie. What I would also say, it's a low budget movie for '94. Even it didn't cost a lot of money to make. The thing that I saw when I rewatched The Crow, and again, I will go to see the new Crow and I will give it a chance. I
Next
just
week we
haven't.
go spoilers and we can go more in depth because I got
But
so
what I
much.
would say to you is, when you watch the '94 Crow, what I saw, right? First off, Brandon Lee's fantastic. He's really good in the movie. He's really, really good. Like every little facial expression, every reaction to thing, he's really good. And what the problem that the new Crow is living up to is the Crow '94 Crow. No matter when you see it, how you see it, what you see it, it is a testament to the unlimited potential that kid had. It's like when you watch the '94 Crow, what I was thinking was, what roles would he have had? Like what? Like I'll give you an example. Ready? We talked about this in the Generation movie. What roles would he have had? Whose career would he have taken over? Because he would have stolen movies from people. The person I thought he would steal the most from was Keanu Reeves. He would have been in The Matrix. He would have been in he could have been in The Matrix. He could have been in John Wick.
Face Off.
He could have been in Face Off.
Right.
Yes. There are all these things that he could have been, and the problem that any movie, any remake, every girl wants to marry him tonight, every guy wants to be him. Yes. Well, I mean, I don't. I think it's one of those things where I look at him as the unlimited potential. Like, and I think when you make a sequel or a remake or anything with this IP, I was telling, I was talking about it last night with Rich. I think this IP is dead. Like, I don't think we're ever going to see another Crow movie
No.
in our lifetimes. Like, we may be 80 or 90 in a hospital bed and there might be a Crow reboot.
Until we're 90.
Until we're 90, yes. But what I'm saying to you is, when I rewatched The Crow 94, I didn't care about the effects looking dodgy. I thought the set design was incredible. Like the recreation of Detroit as some sort of militaristic, demilitarized zone was incredible. All the character actors that are in fucking the 94 Crow, Tony Todd and Michael Wincott and Bai Ling, right? All of those things swirl around it and just it protects it from anything. It protects it from anything, and I just think it's one of those things where
there's so many lines in '94 though too.
Well, that's what I mean. Like that's the thing. But I don't know. When I see it, I'll talk to you. I'll send you a message and be like, I hope we can have a conversation that's not like.
We'll go back to this next week. I want to move on though. A movie that came out, Blink Twice. The studios actually released a trigger warning
on the movie.
On the movie, which I can't figure out how to share it on here to show everybody. But it says, "We are proud to finally share Blink Twice with the audience in theaters worldwide this week. Blink Twice is a psychological thriller about the abuse of power. While this is a fictionalized movie, it contains mature themes and depictions of violence, including sexual violence. This may be upsetting or triggering for some viewers. For resources that offer support, visit blinktwiceresources.com. Amazon MGM Studios, Blink Twice, only in theaters August 23rd.
Yeah, I saw it. We can discuss this really quick. I saw it this weekend. I think it's one of the better movies of the summer. Speaking of remakes and reboots, animated series on Netflix, haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet, Ken. I'll tell you what I was up to. I had a couple things I was up to.
Green Flags season 2, I might consider it.
You can't. Netflix doesn't guarantee anything.
No.
What I would say, Blink Twice.
4 million streams. Cancel it.
Did you start watching the show for that reason?
Did you go see Blink Twice with Missy?
What's that?
Did you go see Blink Twice with Missy? I know Missy would see it. I saw her review on the Loud Nerdy group site. Congratulations. Facebook page, whatever. It has a trigger warning.
But you can't make them drink.
Theater with gassed at the trigger warning. Like, what the fuck are we gonna see? They gasped audibly. Everyone in the audience, guys, girls, everyone. Now I knew it was coming, but it is really wild to sit in a theater that you've paid money to get into, theoretically knowing what you're going to see, movie about, basically Epstein Island kind of things, and you theoretically know what you're going to see and have audible gasps. It reminded, like, it's twofold. One, I think it's really compassionate to do that, because I think if people have had bad things happen to them, and I wish them the best, I think this movie could cause, like,
there's a lot of movies out there they really shouldn't watch then.
Well, this is one of them. I will say, like, the way I described it, like, Jerry, you remember the movie The Player, right?
Yes.
Remember The Player? Okay, so The Player, every movie gets the 2-sentence. What's your pitch, right? They do the pitches in the elevators and in the offices. I Blink Twice, I think, is like, it's the Me Too Get Out. Like, it's really well done. I'm wholeheartedly impressed with Zoe Kravitz, who wrote and directed it. It's really a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. You can't really talk about it because there's so many things in it where you just, like, you're going, oh my God. And as the days turn into a week, turn into a month, turn into a year, like, you don't know how long things plan out. Naomi Aki's really great. Channing Tatum is fantastic. Aaliyah Shawkat, Andrea Ajonia, really good. And then all the other character actors that show up. Gina Davis is in it, which was shocking.
Wow.
Haley Joel Osment is in it. Christian Slater is in it. Simon Rex is in it.
That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yes, and it's really well done, and I think it's one of those.
It's gleaming.
I think it's one of those movies that, you know, how you're saying like the Crow might get to home video and streaming and become a cult movie. I think Blink Twice will be that cult movie. My question is now,
your text message, but that was meant to go here. So
my question is, now that we're having a trigger warning at the beginning of the film, how often are we going to see other movies do this kind of trigger warning when it's necessary for certain flicks? I don't think we're going to see it at all. I think the reason it happens here is because Zoe Kravitz. Well, I don't think it's a trend. I don't think it's a trend because I don't think most filmmakers openly care what they're putting out. You know what I mean? Like how?
Well, I mean to get people to see it.
Wow, no, it was unique. I think Missy, the answer to this question is, I don't think we'll see many, because that's an admission by Hollywood or filmmakers that their movies are too violent. Audience? What was that?
For a niche audience?
Well, for a niche audience, or that their movies are too violent or too sexy or too sexually aggressive or whatever. Like it's an admission. I think this is not her. This is not them putting a trigger warning on to like titillate, like Hitchcock, in the 60s having the nurse outside during Psycho. This is made, I think, because Zoe Kravitz is respectful of the movie, is respectful of the audience, and is basically saying, I'm coming from a place of being a friend.
I can still see it doing that, though.
I think it's a great PR stunt.
Honestly,
coming out and saying this movie had a trigger warning in the beginning, and saying how
like
many
the old horror movies.
I think yes. I think there could be a component to it that it's William Castle. That's a name Jerry knows. Do you know who William Castle is? I know Jerry does, but Kyle, do you know
It's only a movie, like those kinds of
things. Brother of the Punisher.
The grossest movie you're going to see this year.
William Castle was a 50s and 60s horror movie director that the movie Matinee is based on his life. He made a bunch of shocking movies.
Castle reference stuff.
What was that?
Gotta give me some credit for the Castle reference with Punisher.
Yeah, no, it was fine. I'm just trying to actually say who he is. He was a guy that basically he electrified seats. He had skeletons coming out from the screen, all kinds of like tricked up stuff to make movie going. He made a movie called The Tingler, which is an absolute fantastic Vincent Price movie. It's such a good movie, and basically what he did was he electrified seats. And so in the middle of this movie, there's a sequence where the tingler, which is something that happens when you get really scared from the base of your spine, that lets out a spine tingling.
I saw a movie where the tingler was something completely different, but that's not.
Yeah, well, this tingler gets
that one had a disclaimer on it too.
That one had a 17 warning on it.
That was in a back room at the movie store.
Yeah, but I don't think this is a ploy. And I don't think it. B-movie back in the day, fake trigger warnings like the Tingler. Thank you, Ken. That's perfect. I don't think it's a fake movie. I don't think it's a ploy, though. I think she actually.
No, it might not be that for this, but I could see
it could get out of hand.
If it draws people in, and somebody figures that out. Well, now they're going to get back to maybe doing something like that. Maybe. I'm not saying it will. But I could see that being a draw for people. Like, oh yeah, I need to see this to see if it's the grossest or if it's the most twisted or sickest or whatever.
What was that? That one in the 90s, the 1,000 Faces of Death or whatever.
Faces of Death was great.
But how did they sell them? By basically like one person got it and was like, "Holy shit, You know, like
Yeah, they played it
Yeah,
off like it was actually
this
snuff
is.
and real and stuff.
I think the idea that it's a ploy is the wrong way to look at this. I think she's actually a filmmaker that actually cares about the subject matter, and I think she put the trigger warning as a way to protect people. I don't think it's a ploy. I think it could get bastardized.
Right, that's what I'm
Going
getting
into the movie, I didn't understand some of the things I was going to be seeing, and the trigger warning came up, which I didn't know about because I didn't really do a lot of research on the movie. I was kind of taken aback and went, "Oh crap, what am I about to see?" I think that's a good reaction. That's exactly the reaction that the theater I was in, that was moderately packed on Sunday. That's the reaction they had. Like, holy fuck, this is like trigger warnings, and I don't like. I'm gonna say this not in a bad way. I like it's a trigger warning, but I know I've seen worse movies. Right?
I haven't even seen it, and I probably have seen worse.
You've definitely seen worse movies. But
really,
but it's one of those things where it's and there definitely are certain movies out there that should follow suit and do that kind of thing because I frankly appreciate it. I don't think I think this is a very dangerous. How do I put this? In this political age and time, this is a dangerous thing to do for movies. I think she did it out of from a good place. If we see a bunch of movies start coming out with trigger warnings on them, I think it's a very slippery slope for Hollywood. Because like, what are you gonna like? I'll give you an example. There's a war movie. Like you put a war movie out, like Saving Private Ryan, a trigger warning for PTSD. It just it's
where
not.
would it end? Yeah,
I think it's a nice thing for her to do, and I think it was for her it was the right thing to do. And also, I think she was trying to call out like, hey, if you've been suffering from something that happened like this in this movie, by all means, here are some resources, which is always appreciated. Getting resources to people that need them. I just think it's a very slippery slope for other movies to start doing it.
3 o'clock. I should have had a trigger warning then too.
For tiny people in high school who had to fight bullies out by the Bucks. But yeah, I mean, it's just I don't think it's like I'm not laughing at the situation. I think it's more like I think it's something where other movies could follow suit, and other movies like you saw The Crow, right, Kyle? How fucking violent was The Crow?
a little too violent. There was scenes in there that were like, oh fuck.
Okay, so that's what I mean. Like, should there be a trigger warning on The Crow? Like, the most interesting thing is after I watch a movie, all the managers there bring me over to the desk and ask me what I think of the movie, and none of the managers knew that there was a trigger warning attached to it. So, of course, now that piques the interest. So I have a few key managers going to see it this week, but it's very interesting, the lack of knowledge behind the movie. Well, okay. Sorry, just right now I'm gonna have a quote. Blink Twice may either be the first or among the first Hollywood films to have a trigger warning, but it's unlikely to be the last. I don't. I think you'll have filmmakers. I don't know if we're gonna have filmmakers like her, but like I'll give you an example. Should It Ends With Us have a trigger warning because there's domestic violence definitely in that movie? It's just something where, part of it. I think part of what Hollywood does is they allow
Wolverine and Deadpool got a good bromance going on. There's definitely domestic violence in that.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I just think it's something where it was done in this particular case. I don't think it was done to titillate like William Castle or Hitchcock. I think it was done because she was legitimately looking to get resources out to people. And
depending on how that does, somebody might cop that idea.
They might cop the idea, but I don't know that it comes from the same place.
Well,
I'd be very afraid to have it.
Draws audiences, they'll use it. Believe that.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Fans,
but
you're right. We're both wrestling fans. We're both wrestling fans, and for years, the referee throwing the X up meant something seriously went wrong in a match. But over the last
usually it was Triple H, and usually it was his quad.
But yeah, or Vince. But anyway, but over the last couple of years, you've now seen that used as a finish to try and sway the audience into thinking, oh shit, that wasn't supposed to happen.
The hook. It's the hook.
The hook. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a really good movie.
No.
I think
Movies
it has
in the future, possibly. We'll see.
I would be shocked if it continues, because I don't. There are very few movies that are released domestically. Like, I'm not talking about the shit you might see on like a streaming service, right? Like a Netflix, or again, because Netflix is also playing with shit that's from overseas. So we're going to talk about an overseas movie from Jerry's Basement tonight. And those movies are definitely a little bit harsher. Like, I should say, wow. Wait a hot second. I just saw Jerry's name. It states I bought it into it yesterday. It doesn't mean I'm about to see his pocket. Doesn't. I want a trigger warning for that. Okay.
Kate tells it last night.
Fair. I'm not reading that one. But I think it's one of those things where we're looking at it.
Got a flash guitar. I mean, flashlight.
And I just think I don't think we're going to see a lot of warnings. I think
Jerry is going to assault the rebel base.
I can make some jokes right now.
Yeah, everybody's full of jokes. So the story we were talking about before, Blink Twilight, which I think people should see, it's really good, well done, great acting, good script, one of the better scripts, and it is her first time directing. Zoe Kravitz has never written or directed a movie before, so I give her a lot of props. She has a very Jordan Peele kind of appeal to things. Jerry, have you seen Jordan Peele stuff? Do you like Jordan Peele or no?
Some stuff.
Like
I haven't
Get
seen
Out.
everything, so I can't.
Okay, so what have you not? Have you seen Nope? Have you seen?
Yeah, that was okay. It was a little long for me, but it was okay.
I was just curious, but she has a very Jordan Peele quality to the work. It's a very well done directorial and screenwriting effort. A debut. I feel like I came out of it thinking we saw a new star. But
he's frozen.
Who's frozen?
Kyle is.
Your connection's going in and out on me.
I'm not.
I'm good. I can hear him just fine.
We're all good. Okay.
It's your internet.
So a couple things. This is a story that ties into the top. We were talking about box office. We got into Blink Twice. Blink Twice didn't do great, but it did okay enough to maybe. Again, I think it has a future as maybe a cult film. Inside Out 2 became the first animated movie to hit $1 billion overseas. Now, just so we're clear, there's only 12 movies in the history of the box office, international box office. Only one of them is animated, and it's Inside Out 2. To gross $1 billion. The movies it joined, listen to this list. The movies it joined with $1 billion overseas. I can't find it. Captain America: Civil War, Iron Man 3. It's a who's who of live action movies, and it's the first animated movie to gross $1 billion overseas. Incredible. Another thing, you were talking about The Crow. With The Crow bombing, Alex Proyas, who's the director of the original, has been brutal. This was on his Facebook page. I thought the remake was a cynical cash grab. Not much cash to grab, it seems. He was brutal. He wrote, I really don't get such joy from any negativity about fellow filmmakers' work. And I'm certain the cast and crew really had all had good intentions, as we do on any film. So it pains me to say any more on this topic, but I think the fans' response speaks volumes. The Crow is not just a movie. Brandon Lee died making it, and it was finished as a testament to his lost brilliance and tragic loss. It is his legacy. That's how it should remain, which I think is interesting.
Fair enough.
I think it was one of the reasons we were talking about, like, whether or not the movie was going to connect, and it just didn't. So, but that's something else. So I saw Blink twice on Sunday. I also saw on Sunday, Jerry, in on the big screen, this movie, Rear Window, Jimmy Stewart, Grace Kelly, Thelma Ritter. Oh my God, right? Just how great it was. But also beforehand, the Fathom Events person was Leonard Maltin, who does not look good. I'm scared for Leonard Maltin. I wish him longevity. I hope he sticks around as long as possible. But he looked a little sick to me. But he told the story of Rear Window, and this is something I've never heard. Two things that I had never heard about this movie. First off, on the set they built on a back lot in a soundstage. They built a fully working, functional apartment project around the Jimmy Stewart set. So they built out. That's what I'm saying, though, is if you try to compare the two, it's not comparative. I think it's getting a lot of heat from mega fans. Lee, but that honestly probably an attempt to try to store back the source material. Like I said, some holes, and you're going to see the holes when you watch it, but the problem is folks aren't giving it a chance. Something about reviews, a chance that there's really no music. Okay, yeah, but anybody making a Crow remake knew that they were going to run into this problem. If you're going to watch the new Crow on a clean palette, do not watch the original Crow right beforehand, which everybody's going to want to do because it's usually streamed for free right now. Yes, that's the problem is the first movie is tied to so many things in here, like in this section of your body. It's like tied. It's in your chest. It's in your head.
It reminds me of Halloween 3.
I don't hate Halloween 3.
Halloween 3 is a great movie.
If they had not called it Halloween 3, it would have been a very successful horror flick.
What was the fucking...
I'm not a critic. I don't watch a movie to dissect it. I watch it to be entertained. The Crow hit the mark with me. I understand. I know you were talking beforehand that it was something that you were going to watch because you thought it looked more like the original source material. Kyle said that too. When I see it, I'll talk. I think, what's happened to it, though, is not surprising. Like, are we all surprised that it bombed? Is anybody surprised that it bombed? I think
I'm
not surprised that it bombed. I'm surprised
one
at
of
the
them
level.
The first one bombed.
So, that's what I mean. I'm surprised at the level of the bomb with the people involved, right? Skarsgård's a pretty good actor. Formerly known as Twix is a pretty big young music star, which also pains me that they didn't have good music in the movie. Like you're saying, like soundtrack isn't good. I think I will revisit it when I see it. I will review it when I see it, and I'll try to get. I'm going to try to give it as clean a palette as possible. But I am coming off of 2 weeks of where I just watched the Crow. I watched the Crow '94, and we did it on Generation Movie. It was better than I remember it. I understand that, but honestly, it's for audiences that are 40 and above that have the issue. And frankly, the voice of 40 and above is really loud right now. Well, that's interesting. We're on a show called Loud and Nerdy. That is true. But also, like, yeah, I think.
I'd like to see the demographics of the ones that go see it actually out of the 5 million it made.
what the audience actually was.
Yeah.
Well, you and Joe, right? You and Joe.
So there's over 40.
How much hope do we have for the new Highlander with Henry Cavill?
Highlander, like
only
the
one.
Highlander,
like Highlander, like
Highlander. Christopher Lambert.
Yes, like Christopher Lambert. I think Highlander has a Highlander doesn't have like Highlanders. The original Highlander is great, right? I would say the soundtrack is almost non-existent. Well, there's one of the problems you're gonna have. Theater probably hold this in the theater. Well, that's the thing. Well,
Highlander has a very focused group, right? Of people.
Yeah, Highlander is very focused, but I also don't think that any of the sequels hit. I'll tell you where the Highlander problem could come The original Highlander is a great movie. People remember it. It had
Yes.
memorable things in it. You know, Sean Connery, Clancy Brown. You know what I mean? Like the Queen soundtrack. I wouldn't be surprised if they're lining up to be able. If Cavill's going to be Highlander and he's going to do the movie, I would imagine they're going to have music and do a kick-ass soundtrack because that was one of the keys to Highlander.
Hopefully, they should have done with the pro. Apparently,
what I would say with Highlander is it's twofold. First off, the original movie is great. The rest of the movies, Highlander 2: The Quickening, like all the stuff after the original Highlander isn't great. Where you could have a problem with Highlander, I know Highlander fans that love the show more than the movies, right? There was a small segment. There was a show.
I remember the show.
What was the kid's name?
I can't remember his name either.
I can do
Picture him in my head.
Yeah, because he had like the long hair, but it wasn't like out of hand. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Hold on. That is not where I wanted to go. It is Adrian Paul. Adrian Paul.
There can only be one drag queen.
So yeah, I mean, there are people that love that. I don't think that Highlander has such a devoted following that they will not go. Thank you, Ken. A little bit late. I don't think Highlander. I think people will be excited about Cavill because he's coming off The Witcher and he's coming off Superman and he's kind of doing all these like fun genre things like the work he's doing, like the game, and he's doing a couple things where he's working on different projects. I don't think Highlander, as long as it's well made, I'd be curious who's directing. That would be my biggest question.
The Game, that was a good movie too.
That's how you play it.
No, it was a great movie though.
One time, that's one of the movies my dad used to talk about. There are certain movies you can only watch one time, and once the trick gets exposed,
right.
The Game is one of those.
Right, great movie though, right?
It's a good movie. Well, it's Fincher. It's David Fincher. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, I think Highlander will be given a wide breadth, wider than The Crow, only because of the circumstances of The Crow. Okay. Well, okay. Here's where things get interesting once you start doing digging a little bit on the Highlander material. So this is where things change for this movie. The Highlander reboot with Henry Cavill starring and Chad Stahelski directing has the potential to revive the franchise and create a new thing. So Chad Stahelski, if you don't know, two things. This is really weird that we're having this conversation, but I'm gonna blow your mind on two levels here. Chad Stahelski, if you don't know, is the director and the person that came up with the John Wick franchise. So right off the bat, he's made a bunch of great action movies. He's a guy that understands intricate fight choreography.
Highlander has to lose his dog.
Well, and his car. What I also was going to say that's kind of funny about
there can only be one puppy.
Stahelski's directing the Highlander. Do you know? And this is a thing that came up on Generation Movie, and so you should watch Generation Movie as well as us. But I don't know if you guys know this, but when Brandon Lee died, Chad Stahelski was the stuntman who did all of the extra work for Eric after he passed away. So he was the one they put the motion cap face on, and he was the one that was walking around doing things. He was just a stuntman at that time. So before he became a director, and I think that's funny that we're talking about the Highlander reboot.
Ties it in.
The story of the reboot may draw elements from the original movie and the television series. possibly exploring the events leading up to the gathering where remaining immortals battle for ultimate power. I think there's a place for this to go, because the only good Highlander movie is the first one. There's nothing that ties, like, for us, we love Highlander, right? But there's nothing that ties the franchise down like the death of Brandon Lee, right? And now you're telling me that the person directing Henry Cavill, who's a pretty good actor and somebody I like in action movies and has has the right cut of his jib, is the guy who did the John Wick movies. That just leads me to think it's on a good track. It's at least on a better track than The Crow was. So
You know what's funny? Actually, now you bring all this up. While I was watching the new Crow, I thought to myself, like, when Brandon Lee passed away tragically during the '94 one, you really didn't hear much about lawsuits or anyone being held responsible for it. Now, fast forward to a year and a half, 2 years ago, with this whole Alec Baldwin thing, and just how different society is.
Well, two things that came up about that. So the end of the movie is dedicated to Brandon Lee and his fiance. That's who the movie is dedicated to. She became a leading person in Hollywood for gun safety on film sets. And she hadn't talked or spoken. Oh, damn it.
The stock ticker.
I was doing so well then. I put it up there. Kyle didn't have to do it. Where's my ticker? But she became one of the leading persons on trying to implement gun safety rules. And she hadn't spoken for 30 years since Brandon Lee's death. Do you know when she spoke out again? When the terrible thing happened on the Rust set. Okay, so Highlander okay, but I'm sorry, Braveheart is better, so I'm just super happy they're not remaking Braveheart. Braveheart has nothing to Braveheart has nothing to do with Highlander.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really.
They're not even close. Like, Braveheart is a historical recreation. Highlander is an action fantasy movie. So and also best.
Yeah, maybe there really can be only one. We don't know for certain, right?
Well, it's really funny. There can be only one, but there's like 5 sequels. So, it's weird. Also, I think there will be, like, what I always like about these reboots, and I've told you guys this, and I'll tell the audience again. When a reboot happens, what happens to the original movie? The original movie gets talked about again. The original movie gets looked at again and watched again. And I can't tell you, going back to the original Highlander, yes. Go back, watch it.
So does merchandise, too. I mean, from the original.
That's what I mean.
I could attest to that. Like, when Clash of the Titans remake came out, I went back, I was on eBay looking. Oh, I remember that there was a Clash of the Titans lunchbox back in the day.
Yes.
I went looking for it, and the prices were
sky high. There was a Kraken playset.
I had the Kraken Ben Cooper costume.
There was a Kraken playset where you had, like, it was like a fake plastic rock, and his hands were on the rock, and you, like, they were Clash of the Titans toys. I remember them. So yeah, I mean, I think the fascinating thing with reboots and remakes, and I'm okay with people getting their own generational movies. I don't know that we're ever going to see another Crow movie ever. Like, I think it's one of those things where it's got bad juju written all over it. Like, and you think about all the sequels that got made, they're all awful. Like, their City of Angels is terrible. Wicked Prayers is bad. You know what I mean? It was
like RoboCop. RoboCop was kind of like that too, right?
Yeah, I mean, RoboCop, they didn't get what they were doing. The remake of RoboCop had no idea what they were doing. Like, they didn't realize that the original RoboCop is a satire. It's a comedy movie. Like, I'll buy that for $1. It's a comedy movie.
That for $1.
That happens to be ultra violent. That movie would need a trigger warning. Do you not want to watch somebody explode into a mess of green acid? Like, um,
Great movie.
trigger warnings for movies we've already had would be a funny bit for us. Trigger
Right?
warnings like movies we saw that just went wide. Visually storyline, Braveheart is better. Yeah, Braveheart. Braveheart's an Academy Award-winning movie. I'm not saying it's not better. They're totally different movies. They're never gonna. I don't think they're gonna remake Braveheart just because it's historical dramas very rarely get remade. Like we're never gonna have another Lawrence Arabia. Mixed thinking about movies you wouldn't want to see remade. I don't want to see Blue Lagoon made. Don't worry, they're not going to. I think they would chop it. Like that's not gonna happen. In the same way, we're not gonna get a Jubilee movie. But anyway, remade because I'm sorry. There's a special place in my heart for that man is Braveheart, and I don't want to see anybody else play that part. That's fine. I don't. Braveheart and Highlander are so. 3 Blue Lagoon movies. Oof. I'm glad you're keeping track. I'm not.
You
Like,
got
I'm
the box set or what? What's it?
Well, the Blue Lagoon, they don't have popcorn buckets for Blue Lagoon, so how can I possibly pay attention?
I could imagine those.
just Brooke Shield, Brooke Shields, like the Wolverine bucket. Anyway, we watched Top Secret last night. Top Secret makes fun of the Blue Lagoon, so
Yes, it does.
it makes wholehearted fun of the Blue Lagoon. Those sequels and remakes, frankly, I enjoy them. No, I understand. People like what they like. I'm all for it. Like whatever you want. I don't think they're going to remake Blue Lagoon. I don't think they're going to remake Braveheart. Speaking of that, let's talk about original stuff that matters to us. Jerry, what is the movie? Tell me the movie was not every boy's introduction to puberty. No, it was not. Where did Kyle go? Kyle, get back here. Where are you going?
I'm giving Jerry and you the stage for Jerry's basement because
Yeah, but you left the Blue Lagoon thing up. Are you going to take that down? Also, Blue Lagoon, not where boys learned about puberty. Just so we're, Kyle, this is your wife making this comment. You want to tell her you didn't watch the Blue Lagoon to learn about puberty?
I got to go back down there and go to bed tonight, buddy.
No, that would have been.
So wait a second. Wait a second. I want to get this on the record. Are you saying you did learn about puberty from the Blue Lagoon?
I never saw
Bo
the
Derek.
I met her.
Bo Derek. That's all I'm saying.
10. Yes, 10.
Or
Anyway.
Tarzan the Ape Man.
Tarzan the Ape Man.
Sheena. I can keep going.
Oh shit. Anyway, okay. What is the movie that came from
JW
Jerry's basement?
Man, actually.
All right, the movie.
It was G.I. Joe, if you really want to get into it, Kyle. I really enjoyed Scarlet.
Tonight's movie. Oh, you covered it.
Go ahead.
Santa Sangre.
Santa Sangre. I can't believe
Directed
Kyle's
by-
leaving during our segments now.
Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Yes, who everybody may know as the person who tried to do a Dune movie and failed miserably.
But he has a lot of movies that have a lot of strange and bizarre imagery in them.
Yeah, this is Santa Sangre. It's 18 plus if you're buying it on Anchor Bay. Look at that double X. I got a picture for you that's completely terrifying. So it's a Chilean, just so we're clear, and again, I've never seen this movie, so I'm just going by what I have. It is a Chilean Mexican movie. And it's basically about childhood trauma, about a kid who grew up in the circus. It is, I don't know if you know this, Jerry, Empire Magazine, which is a famous British film magazine, 2008 list of the 500 greatest movies of all time. This movie is on the list.
Interesting. This movie, it's basically it's about a family that's in a circus and they're performers, and the kid's father is messing around with the painted lady, and the wife catches him and he cuts the wife's arms off. The kid ends up in a mental institution, ends up finding the mother later on when he gets out of the mental institution, and she has no arms, so he is behind her and he is her arms. He plays piano for her, he feeds her, and they go on a killing spree. That's essentially what this is about. But not without but bizarre imagery. Like I said, if you watch one of his movies, they're just very bizarre.
When he like I said, this is one of his more famous movies, but it's also he's most well known. There was a documentary about him trying to make Dune before Dune got made. And so and again, it's on a lot of critics' all-time best lists. Where can people find this movie if they want to?
This is on Tubi.
Free on Tubi, Santa Sangre. Just like it's also called Santa Sangre is Holy Blood.
Yep.
And it's described as a 1989 avant-garde surrealistic psychological horror film directed by Alejandro Jodorowsky, written by Jodorowsky along with Claudia Argento, there's a famous name, and Roberto Leone. It stars Axel Jodorowsky, Aiden Jodorowsky, Tio Jodorowsky, so a bunch of people from his family. It's a Mexican and Italy film was set in Mexico, all about growing up in the circus and struggle with childhood trauma and the mental institutions and different things. So it's one of those movies. It basically came out. Jodorowsky created a movie called The Holy Mountain in 1974.
That's actually my favorite one.
And basically,
I have that too. It's very bizarre, but it's
awesome.
It's another one.
Yeah, and he makes a bunch of really interesting, weird, avant-garde movies.
Definitely. So, if you watch that Midsummer, you've seen everybody's seen Midsummer. If you watch The Holy Mountain, and you'll be like, "Oh, that reminds me of Midsummer." Well, there's a reason why, because Midsummer.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because that will lead directly into No Kyle for this, my favorite time of the week, Jerry. Let's talk some Twilight Zone, my friend. Let's talk some Twilight Zone, baby. So Twilight Zone Redux. The episode tonight is a little episode called... Why are you giving us the finger?
It's Twilight Zone time. Why not?
Now you're gone. Bye. You're out. You're out.
Back, bitch.
These power buttons, man.
It's crazy the amount of power we have.
Actually.
Tonight's episode is called Execution.
Boring episode. He played a pretty good part, this guy.
Oh, he was really good. Albert Salmi as Joe Caswell. Execution is the episode 26 of the Twilight Zone. It premiered in April 1st, 1960. Opening narration, as we always do, commonplace, if somewhat grim, unsocial event known as a necktie party. The guest of dishonor, a cowboy named Joe Caswell. Just a moment away from a rope, a short dance several feet off the ground, and then the dark eternity of all evil men. Mr. Joe Caswell, who, when the good Lord passed out a conscience, a heart, a feeling for fellow men, must have been out for a beer and missed out. Mr. Joe Caswell in the last quiet moment of a violent life. So this is a fascinating episode that I had never seen until I watched it today. I don't think it gets.
I don't remember seeing this one either.
I don't remember seeing this one at all. And this guy Joe Caswell is a terrible person. He has shot somebody in the back, and what happens is the moment the noose and he drops off the horse. This guy, the professor from fucking Gilligan's Island, no shit. Of course, Professor Mannion is played by Russell Johnson, the same person that will become the professor on Gilligan's Island. This professor has created a time machine that basically takes Joe Caswell out of the past, brings him into 1950s New York. And it's Caswell, he basically goes to bed, but the professor is a smart guy. He notices the rope burns around his neck. He notices, first off, Caswell is a terrible human. Like, he is not a good person in any shape, way, sense of anything. He's mean. He is violent. He's all these different things.
He's a
And
murderer.
what he says here, the Professor Mannion says here is, I'm afraid that I've brought somebody into the present that is a primitive, a man with primitive nature, and I don't think this is not what I expected from my experiment. So, of course, as the episode progresses, it goes horribly wrong. Caswell kills Professor Mannion with a desk lamp, and I mean, it is a brutal. I would say it's the most violent thing I've ever seen on the Twilight Zone up until this point. Like it's
right up to
it
this
is
point, right?
up until this point, it is the most brutal. Like he takes a fucking desk lamp, and I mean,
And that's not the only scene either.
yeah. Well, no, that it gets worse. Like this episode gets worse. This episode should have a trigger warning.
Right? For the
So what happens is Mannion kills or Mannion dies. Joe Caswell goes out, and he basically, they get no big argument. He kills the professor. He has no way to do the different things, but he has been exposed to New York. But the rest of the episode has him running around New York. He gets locked in a phone booth and busts out of the phone booth. He goes into a bar. He gets into a fight with a jukebox because he doesn't
like how
understand
he
it.
gets out of the phone booth, though. That was pretty cool.
Oh, it was amazing. It's an amazing scene of stunt work. It's basically a phone booth against the wall, and he presses his feet against the back of the phone booth and projects out through the center of the phone booth, bending all the metal around it. It is super violent. It is crazy. And when he gets up, he has like a cut across his face that he's wiping away with his cowboy thing. Anyway, he ends up in a bar. He breaks the jukebox. The bartender gets all afraid up into the point where he puts the gun up. The bartender has a shot measure on the top of the bottle. He rips it off, starts drinking from the bottle. The bartender turns on the TV. There's a Western on the TV. The guy pulls a gun. He fires at the television. So it all goes crazy for him.
Right.
He goes
He
nuts.
thought it was real. He thought it was a
Thought it was real. Thought it was a
gun.
real guy. So it's an incredible episode. He ends up back at the apartment. When he ends up back at the apartment of Dr. Professor Mannion, there is a person there that's robbing the place. And Caswell gets into a fight with Paul Johnson, who's a thief. And basically, Paul Johnson gets it, and he strangles him with the cord of the
curtain.
of the curtains.
Right.
So he strangles him with a rope, and he dies. This leaves this two-bit thief in New York in the 1950s to search out Professor Mannion's thing for a safe. He inadvertently hits some buttons on the wall. He then goes to the center of the room, which is this cube, like not a cube, but like a diamond,
big diamond shape
thing. Hold on, I have pictures. I shouldn't have to explain it like this. So this is him talking to the bartender, looking at the television, getting ready to shoot the TV. And then this is the thief at the end. After he kills Caswell, he ends up in here, and he's pressed a few buttons, and the door closes, and he gets sent back and is dangling from the noose at the end of the episode.
Yep.
And all you have, like, they're like, did we kill an innocent man? That isn't Caswell. They're like, the preacher that's there says this is the devil's work. But the end of the episode, closing narration. This is November 1880, the aftermath of a necktie party. The victim's named Paul Johnson, a minor league criminal and the taker of another human life. No comment on his death save this: justice can span years. Retribution is not subject to a calendar. Tonight's case in point, in the Twilight Zone. This is a fascinating episode. I've never seen it. It was really well done. The actors were very good, right, Jerry?
Yeah.
And this is what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say it loud and proud. This episode reminds me of Time After Time.
Oh, great movie.
Time After Time, 1979, Malcolm
You're
McDowell. Right. It's about H.G. Wells. He builds a literal time machine. Wait, Kyle can come back now. Kyle, you're back.
Hey!
Have you ever seen Time After Time, Kyle?
That's a good one.
Maybe if you describe it a little.
Okay, Time After Time. It's a 1979 movie. Malcolm McDowell, Mary Steenburgen, David Warner. It's about H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells literally builds a time machine in his basement that he's writing the book about. Right, so he builds a time machine, and it just so happens that one of his dinner guests is Jack the Ripper, and Jack the Ripper steals the time machine and comes forward to 1979 San Francisco, where he goes on a fucking murder spree. And H.G. Wells has to come forward in time after him to try to stop him and bring him back. It is one of the great 70s thrillers. It is
that one doesn't get talked about too much.
That one doesn't get talked about enough.
It's really good.
It is a great movie. It is a wonderful movie. It also has one of the single greatest moments where he finally tracks H.G. Wells, or H.G. Wells tracks Jack the Ripper down, and basically he David Warner sits down on the bed, and he motions for H.G. Wells to sit down by next to him. He grabs a television remote, and he turns it on. He starts clicking. Goddamn it! Sorry, I've been very chaotic, missing everything. We're talking about Twilight Zone now. We are, but we moved on to another movie that this episode of the Twilight Zone called Execution reminded me of.
You put it
Time After Time.
Twilight Zone.
Called Time After Time. But he sits down, clicks the thing, and all that's on the news is violence and whatever. And he turns to H.G. Wells and he says, "Just so we're clear, I belong here. The world,
it's cool, right?
Where I'm at is where I'm supposed to be. These people don't care about life the same way I don't care about life." And it's fantastic. It's got a really great performance from Mary Steenburgen.
Now I have to watch that again.
I'm gonna watch it when
it's been a long time.
When I get out of here. It's a great movie. I didn't see the comment. What was the comment? Trauma, I'm actually super surprised. Kyle hasn't seen this movie since he is at least used to be really into serial killers. Oh, okay. You never saw Time After Time? No. Jack the Ripper.
Or Dressed to Kill. How about that? That's a good one.
If I watched it, I might have. Back in the day and age before cellular phones were all the rage while you were on the crapper,
He
I
does
used to
it.
keep the
But you'll watch it
encyclopedia
sometime.
of serial killers next to the toilet.
Oh, that's some light pooping reading.
Yeah, it was definitely some light pooping reading.
Yeah, Mrs. Jerry doesn't like Twilight Zone. Yes, because it's in black and white.
Them sometimes. She just doesn't admit that she likes them once in a while.
Next week's episode is super cool.
Somewhere in Time, that's good too.
Oh, Somewhere in Time is a great movie. Like I said, but this episode today reminded me of Time After Time, and I can't recommend it enough. If you've never seen Time After Time, it is such a great, and it's probably like on Max or somewhere where it's probably on Max where you can see it. Give me 1 second. It's probably on Max where you can watch it, but it's a really well done sci-fi action / horror, because he's Jack the Ripper.
He's on Prime, YouTube.
Rare to see Malcolm McDowell as the good guy. Yes, but he's a fantastic H.G. Wells. He goes to McDonald's. He gets fries and he's like, he orders a Big Mac. It's great. It's fantastic because he's from posh. But this is the poster.
Yep.
It's H.G. Wells falling out of a watch. And the watch is a major thing because the watch is what Jack the Ripper uses to distract Raven Hanshaw trying just boring. They're not boring. They're so good. So many people had to have seen all these fucking shows.
Barring Sydney. Barring.
Okay, well.
Jerry, name the movie.
Huh?
Name that movie, Jerry.
What movie?
Barring Sydney. Barring.
Oh, what is that?
Sid and Nancy. Jesus Christ.
Oh, okay.
God damn it, Jerry.
Well, what are you going to do?
You're off next week. Have a safe weekend. All. Yes, I'm just making the announcement right now. We want everybody to have a great Labor Day. Enjoy your Labor Day. We're off next week. So that we can, do whatever we're going to do and enjoy our weekend and not have to worry about the shows. We will see everybody, let's see, on the 8th. No, the 9th. No, the 10th of September. So coming up on, do you guys have anything coming up?
Me, not until September.
Oh, that's a nice poster. That's worth something.
That'll be worth.
So I do want to give a brief preview. Let me get rid of the my birthday next Tuesday. I expect cash. Can we just say just end? I just downloaded Time After Time. You never watched was MASH. That's possible. MASH was a great movie, but the show took over a lot of MASH. Right? You can buy Time After Time on Apple TV, Amazon as a download, run on Amazon. Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine it's not on Max. It's a very prominent Warner Brothers movie. Let's see. What I was gonna say. A couple things we got coming up. Cool poster. Everybody's saying cool poster. Happy early birthday to Ken McKernan. The other thing I was gonna say is we've come up with the movies we're doing for Generation Movie in September. A great lineup, including a movie. Before we go, previews for this week, movies that are coming out. You have this movie coming out called Afraid with the AI. Blumhouse, basically from the producer of Megan and the Black Phone, written and directed by Chris Weitz. Don't know if it's going to be good or not. It's the end of the summer, so we don't know what we're going to get. Also, this movie's coming out with Dennis Quaid as Ronald Reagan. It's got John Voight in it as well. I don't know.
Who would have ever thought that Dennis Quaid would play Ronald Reagan?
That's just crazy to me. But
of course, Ronald Reagan's your president.
This movie,
cameras. President's got to look good on TV now.
Who's
Brown? Back to the Future.
Jerry Lewis. Yeah, Jerry Lewis, Secretary of State. But this movie is coming back to theaters, and it is the first movie we'll tackle on Generation Movie on September 9th. This movie right here. It comes back to theaters this week. So we encourage everybody to
this movie.
What was that?
You better have a pint while watching this movie.
Yes, but great. We're going to get a pint of the Winchester. But yeah, it's coming back. We're doing it on Generation Movie on September 9th. On September 16th, a week before the new reboot comes out, we're doing this movie. The Hellboy with Guillermo del Toro, Ron Perlman, Selma Blair. Fantastic movie. I also don't know if we're the jinx, right? We don't know if we're the jinx for these reboots thus far. But the Hellboy, the Crooked Man opens the same week we're doing our Hellboy show. Hellboy celebrating its big anniversary. The following week we're doing this movie, for kids. Can you just move that thing so people can see the title? The Hudsucker Proxy. Coen Brothers, Tim Robbins, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Paul Newman. And then we end September, Jerry, with this movie. Paul members have seen this with Randy. Oh. We do this movie, Jerry. Dark Star. We're going to do horror-based, and we're going to do horror-based for Generation Movie and horror-based and anniversary movies in October. So we also have some really interesting movies planned for November and December, of course. But Dark Star is one of those great movies. John Carpenter films. It's a disaster.
Carpenter film I would recommend to people. Someone's Watching Me.
Someone's Watching Me is great. Assault on Precinct 13 is underrated.
Very.
Very underrated. And considering it's a remake of John Wayne movies like El Dorado, Rio Lobo, Rio Bravo, right? It's the same movie. But thank you for joining us. If you like our show, I'm going to make this even easier. Look at this card that we have right now. Super close. That is I can't make it work. And then all you have to do if you're watching this episode tonight is this. That will get you into the world of the Indie Escape Network and Loud Nerdy and Generation Movie and Symbolistic Cynicism and the Sticky Microphone and all these great shows that we do. Thank you for joining us tonight. Everybody have a great, safe, wonderful Labor Day. Wait, before long, did you guys mention a very special anniversary? Kyle?
Natural Born Killers 30th was yesterday.
Or are you talking about Strange Brew? Strange Brew is today.
I mean, there's also
I haven't
Raven
seen that movie in years either.
How are we not doing the Beetlejuice rewatch with Beetlejuice coming out? It's not celebrating an anniversary. Is part of it, and also we didn't think about it.
Got it right.
Natural Born Killers. Natural Born Killers. You may see it may be on our list, but not for September.
Now,
I consider Natural Born Killers to be a pretty basic horror film, so maybe it might be in our list for October.
I believe it's
So
this Saturday
these are all
night
things.
at Fair
Yeah,
Oaks.
these are all things. These are all things that are on the table. Believe me, the list I have right here, but you can't see it. We will see everybody
Night,
not next week, but following week on the
Wait a
10th.
minute.
What?
This Saturday night, though, at the Fair Oaks Drive-In, if you guys are near Northeast PA, Middletown, New York area, they're doing 4 movies you can get in for. Starts off with Frankenhooker, then Nightmare on
Nice.
Elm Street,
Original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Alfred Hitchcock,
Celebrating an anniversary, 40th anniversary.
Psycho,
What else?
Psycho.
Original Psycho, nice.
and then it ends with The Blob.
The new Blob or the old Blob?
That is yet to be determined. Doesn't say what year it was. But I guess the evening is also going to be.
Do you have a
hosted
poster?
by
What does the poster look like?
Pinkish.
That narrowed it right down.
Does it look like
Right
does
there.
it look like a side of
That's-
cranberry sauce on its side?
I think that's the new one.
The new one.
That's a new one.
So
Like
I guess
the
it's also
88
going to be
Fantastic
hosted by
movie.
Not
A
new,
really-
but you know,
Alan
A
Horwath.
really good reboot, actually. A really good remake, actually.
the
I
effects.
enjoyed that movie immensely.
The effects
That's a
were
really
great
good
in that one.
Yeah, that's a great. The
And
guy
then-
that gets the woman that gets sucked down the drain.
He had the sink.
Alan Horwath will be there Saturday, August 31st.
Very famous composer. Yeah. Okay.
And he'll be doing a live concert at the drive-in before the movie start.
That sounds pretty cool.
So,
How much are tickets? Do we know how much tickets are?
I can go into that and look if it boots, but it's not.
Okay. This is a great place. But so the Fair Oaks Drive-In in Middletown, New York is having a pretty cool horror
Okay.
movie end of the summer. That's pretty cool. We wish them the best. We wish everybody the best. Everybody have a safe, wonderful, amazing Labor Day. Watch a movie, go see some things, and we'll talk to everybody in 2 weeks. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Good.
Stay safe. Bye.